to This Week in Football and to the Vancouver Whitecaps Wednesday night leg 2 versus Miami. But before we get there, we didn't talk about it yesterday on Footy Prime, but I want to hear from you, Asa, not only about you sharing that press box alongside Craig Forrest for leg 1 and the celebration that was that victory 2-0 over Inter Miami for the Whitecaps, but Saturday night, there was a tragic event in Vancouver at the Filipino festival where 11 people died after somebody drove into people just trying to share their community with the wider Vancouver community. So we on Footy Prime are thinking about all of those affected and all of those who lost lives. Our thoughts are with you, but I just wanted to know from your perspective, Asa, like how it felt kind of in the soccer community, in your community in Vancouver.
Yeah, I mean, this one was devastating, hit really close to home. I grew up in the area. Mom and dad are still there, blocks from where the events happened. So it was, it was a rough weekend, honestly. Like Saturday night, I know a lot of people that went to the festival. So many families impacted by this, really devastating to the Filipino community, but really all of Vancouver because there's such a large Filipino population here. So you grew up here, you're raised here, you know Filipinos, you went to school with them, and the best people, the most welcoming, kindest, genuine people you'll meet. And so that one really hit hard. And it was, it still is. I mean, it's been a tough week, honestly, because the second you get into your life and what you're doing, and it escapes your mind, you're brought right back to it and the people that you meet, and obviously in the news and everything. And it's really hard to just process this and understand it, and then we're all grieving as well with all the people that were impacted by this. So it was a tough weekend. Obviously, wanted to focus on the match when the game happened on Sunday, but also pay tribute and honor and give this the time they deserved in the broadcast as well. And it was it was tricky commentating on that match, doing the hour pregame and then getting into the game as well. You just feel that, I don't know if guilt's the right word, but just odd that this happened and you're so impacted and feel awful about it, and then you have this game that's happening. And in the game, the Whitecaps were incredible. So some joy in that match, but obviously dealing with and working with a heavy heart through it all as well.
So like I said, I don't know if I acknowledged Footy Prime. We're without James Sharman today, but we've got Asa Rehman with us to talk about this. So as Footy Prime, we send out all of our thoughts to that Filipino community in Vancouver. So how was it, just from your perspective, as I mentioned in that press box with Craig for that historic victory on Thursday night as part of Concacaf Champions Cup? How was it kind of, maybe not coming down, but shifting gears for a league match on the Sunday to be on the call there?
So the Thursday night, transitioning from Thursday to Sunday. So we got to watch that game. And I got to say, Dubs, that was fun. That was the most fun I've had, I think, at BC Place for a game. And it was kind of nice. Obviously wanted to call that match with Miami in town, Messi on the pitch. It was unfortunate because it was a CONCACAF match and we don't have the radio rights for that. That's why we didn't end up doing the commentary for it. So that was a bit of a gut punch and just unfortunate. And you're like, oh, I wish we were doing this, especially on this occasion. Once I got past that and got to share the event and the celebration with Craig and others in the box as well, it was really cool to just be there and actually take the headset off and wear the fan cap for a little bit and enjoy that match, because there's so much to celebrate. And it was, I think I said this to you, Craig, as well, as we were watching this, maybe 10 minutes in, as you're watching it, and Miami is incredible. There's so much talent on the pitch. The Whitecaps have been so good this season as well. I think it was, about 10 minutes in, I'm watching, I'm like, this is probably the best game I've seen live at BC Place. And there's been some international matches, and sure, those are in a different category. But as far as the quality on the pitch goes, it was amazing to see. There was an early opportunity for the Vancouver Whitecaps. It was in transition. Someone picked it up and immediately sent it down that right side to Ali Ahmed. Took a touch and then sent it across for Brian White. He just misses it. And the crowd just went nuts. 53,000 in attendance there. And everyone's on their feet going crazy. And I was like, what are we watching? Like, where am I? Like, honestly, felt like I was in Europe or something. And just the way that play in particular kind of broke down so early in the game. I'm like, we're watching something really special because, like I said, Miami would retain possession. They can move it about. You see these silky smooth touches from Messi, as you'd expect. So the guy still got it, obviously. He's cutting inside on people. Ali Ahmed's trying to close him down, and he just kind of does a little sidestep and then plays it. So you're like, this is wild, just seeing all these people on the pitch and the high level of quality in the game. And then the Whitecaps were with him every step of the way. And some great goals by the Vancouver Whitecaps and just great play all in all. So it was a fun night to take that one in.
Yeah, then, it's always fun to be working those games, of course. But being a fan, it was amazing, wasn't it? I mean, we were getting we're high-fiving people. We were going around, looking around the booth, and there was Bob Lenarduzzi and a couple of other guys there, Carl Valentine, and we're giving high fives to them too. It was just insane how much fun it was.
Yeah, so special, like real pinch me moment, guys. Like I'm taking it all in, and then there's the Messi chance. Like there are still plenty of Messi jerseys there. A lot of people there to see, the greatest play this game in Vancouver. And there's these Messi chants going Messi, and then the boos coming back. Like just the banter in the stands as well was really cool to be a part of all that. And then the roars when the Whitecaps scored were amazing, and the goals were really cool. So yeah, it was a special night. I could go on. This feels like an NSL summary, Dubs. Like I'm just going on.
I know. Asterisk extended version. Yeah, I always feel like when I covered CF Montreal for the past 4 seasons, we couldn't have a sideline reporter because it's under the umbrella of Concacaf. I wasn't allowed to be on the touchline. So sometimes I would participate in pregame, halftime, postgame, but occasionally I would just be there in the press gallery, but not really working, taking it in because I knew I had to talk about it after the fact, but enjoying it in a different way. And sometimes it's always a privilege to be on the call. Like that's not ever lost on me, as I'm sure it's not lost on you or you, Craigor. But sometimes there's that special factor when you just get to enjoy it like you're a fan, like you're just following the club. And Forrest, because you mentioned Carl Valentine there, and Brian White scoring that goal, I believe either tied Carl Valentine or moved past him on that all-time list. So did you have a conversation with him about that, or about Brian White or his role as a club legend with the Vancouver Whitecaps?
I didn't actually. I had no idea, and he didn't bring it up because he's the type of guy that wouldn't bring it up, to be honest with you. Carl's not going to tell anybody about that. But yeah, what a special individual. I was at that game in 1983 when there was 50-odd thousand there in the first game when they moved into BC Place. Unfortunately, that place ended up being a franchise killer, but the league ended up folding, I believe, a year later, North American Soccer League. And then I guess what was the Messi game when he didn't show up was another 50-odd thousand or something like that. And then they're very forgiving and gave it another opportunity for him to see if he would play. And because of the magnitude of the competition in that particular game, he played all 90 minutes.
Jimmy, what's your take on a guy like Brian White? Not only what he's done so far this year in MLS and league play for the Whitecaps, but how he's performed when needed in those big moments in Concacaf Champions Cup, but just over the course of the years that he spent with this club and what he means to them.
I love him as a player. I mean, I actually said I would have his jersey. Remember we said, who do you want in the back?
Oh, yeah, remember.
I just think he's so clinical, and he's such an intelligent player in and around the box. He just needs half a chance, and he seems to be putting into the back of the net. Craig and I were talking this morning, and we actually brought him up in conversation, saying, if you're the U.S. national team, how is he not your starting striker at the moment? Mm-hmm. This guy should be starting every single match for them. He's in form. The guy leads the line well. He's physical. He doesn't mind the contact. And he's just aggressive in his play. And I think they've got an exceptional talent there. And it's always important, when you go on these roles or these wins that you're getting, you need a striker that's in form.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're fighting for a supporters shield, or you want to get into playoffs, or you want to win a championship, you need strikers that are in form, and he is in form right now. You get him the ball, he's scoring goals.
Yeah.
So I just think with this Vancouver team, everything seems to be clicking. Everybody's playing a role. There's no passengers.
No.
Even the subs that are coming off the bench are providing that extra energy, because you always want a sub to make a difference when they come on. And these subs are.
Mm-hmm.
And they all know what the game plan is. They all know what to do. They're coached very, very well. And they adapt to different situations. And for me, they're the best team in MLS right now. And they're a great team to watch.
Well, speaking of those subs, I think critical moment and well-timed, but like the right players, like the right personnel brought on by Sorensen. But I think it speaks volumes, Asa, about the trust and the belief that he has from top to bottom in this roster. So he subs Kubas and Vite, who have been so key to that midfield ticking along and the quality that they have in there game in and game out, for Nelson and Ngando. And it does give them that lift to sort of see it over the line in a game that I don't think they gave away possession by design. It was just what the game threw at them. Anyway, to hear Sorensen and a guy like Kubas speak post-game. So what do you think about this team as they head into Miami? It's a little bit different this time, where like they go in like the previous matchups in this play where they had to get something out of the second match. And now they go in with kind of more, more on their side, where they can dictate terms a little bit more. Yeah.
And you have to feel good about the way the players are coming, the way the players are contributing off the bench. Jaden Nelson's a great example. Like, he came out on fire to start this season, had an incredible 4-point performance. I think it was 3 assists and a goal. And then has been dealing with injuries a little bit, so he hasn't featured as much. But you can see that he's a special player for the Caps coming off the bench. And you're right, they got the subs absolutely perfect in that game. But it helps when you have players playing at a high level. And this is definitely by design. Like, he's been using these players. Even Ralph Priso came in that game, and I think people were shocked to see him maybe come in. But he's a player that he's trusted. I think Priso's playing with a lot of confidence right now in his ability to kind of not just be a defensive player in the middle of the park, but also contribute offensively. So he has these players that are dialed in. We heard Jaden Nelson say that this is the best locker room he's been a part of as well. So there's good vibes all around. And Jesper Sorensen deserves a lot of credit here, not just for, making the directions really clear for all of these players and making sure that they understand their roles, but then giving them these moments as well. There's a great opportunity on the weekend to now into that game on Sunday against Minnesota, where there was 8 changes, and Craig mentioned it yesterday on Footy Prime, but a lot of rotation, and all these players stepped up. They knew the assignment. I think they were excited to get this opportunity, and made the most of it. So you have players getting minutes here. Jeevan Bodwell is another one. He started on the weekend, so everything's going right. And then going into that second leg against Miami, talked to Jesper Sorensen after the match on Sunday and asked him, how aggressive they might be. And I think they're going to go after it, knowing that a goal is huge for the Vancouver Whitecaps. So they'll definitely be looking to capitalize on their chances. And just like we said going into the last match against Miami, I think there will be chances. I think that's the softest part of this Miami team, is that, they're not as quick, not as fast defensively. So you should be able to hit them on the counter, have these opportunities in transition, and then you got to capitalize on them.
I think they'll need a goal. They'll need a goal in that game.
I think so.
But then they need to score for Miami. So
that's right. I think the game can open up, right? Once you get to that, if the Caps get one at some point, if it's 1-1, 2-1, then Miami's going to have to keep going. You should get more of those chances. You should get more of those Jaden Nelson, Emmanuel Sabi, whatever it is. You should have these guys, 2-on-3, 2-on-2 type opportunities. Can you make it now 2-2? Can you make it like this game could open up into like a 4-3 if the Caps just keep going for it. And that's something I'd like to see, obviously, as a fan of this game. But I think that's maybe the right way to approach this as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because Miami fall 4-3, even though they were up 3-1 versus Dallas, but they rested Messi, Suarez, Alba, Busquets with their eye clearly on Vancouver. Vancouver, again, we mentioned the depth of roster. They're able to make 8 changes, highly rotated squad who get the win on Sunday. But Jimmy, if this is indeed a more open game, who does that favor?
If it becomes open, I think it will favor Miami, to be honest with you. You know, there's a lot to take in here when you look at this game. You know, you're traveling to Miami. It's a long way away. It's, you know, 3 hours, 3 time zones. Plus, you also are in the humidity in Miami, plus the heat. It's like, what, 28, 29 degrees there right now. So there's a lot that comes into play. You know, you're on grass. This is a team that's very used to being indoors, playing on artificial turf. Now you're heading into Miami on the grass, humidity, the heat. And that does affect you. And Craig and Amy, you've played in those situations. You played down in South Florida. You know exactly what it's like and how draining it can be. They're going to have to conserve energy. They've got to stay organized and disciplined. And if the game does tend to open up, then of course it's going to add more gaps for Suarez to get in, for Messi. Busquets can get on the ball and start playing. Fullbacks bombing on. So they have to be very organized and disciplined this match for me.
Sorry, guys. Can you give me the tiebreaker, what we're looking for as far as the away match and the rules for a tie or penalties? What's the rule for this match?
Well, if Vancouver score a goal, we won't see any.
That's right.
Yeah.
The only way it goes to penalties if it's 2-0 Miami.
Mm-hmm.
The exact same score.
They need to score 2 to force extra time, and they need at least 3. Miami does to win outright. Yeah. So if the Whitecaps score, Miami needs 4 goals to advance.
Yeah. I think with this match, the longer that Vancouver can contain Miami, the better it's going to play into their favor. Meaning that they're going to actually have to push more and more as the game goes on, which will open up, and the counterattack will be on for Vancouver to get forward. So they have to stay in the game. If they concede early, it could be trouble.
Yeah.
So the longer they keep in it, the better.
I agree, Jimmy. And I think the first, 10 or 15 minutes is going to be huge. Just kind of weathering that storm at home. And I think that the longer it goes 0-0, the more unsettling it is at home, right? Then, you know, your fans are excited and on you in the first 50 minutes, and then the doubt starts to creep in.
That's right.
Yeah, you kind of get one of these, you get one of these opportunities against a run of play and then really set that in. So, the first 10 or 15 minutes, cliche as it is, I think is going to be huge in this one.
It's kind of like this podcast. I think at like 23. Everybody's on edge after the first 15 minutes to see how it's going. We can all breathe a sigh of relief that things seem to be ticking along and humming along.
Can I talk about Suarez a little bit? I saw him in a workout with Messi, and he looked like a 52-year-old bus driver. And it made me think of Jimmy's open tryouts with TFC. And what Jimmy would have thought if Suarez showed up there without knowing who he is, right? Just going, hey, because he looks like, I know he has golden tippy toes, and just a lot of people don't know this. He has actually very small, elegant feet too, allegedly.
What's golden tippy toes?
Because the guy has a great touch around it. But he looks, Jimmy, if he would have showed up at your open tryouts, you would have given him a laugh, wouldn't you have?
Oh, you would have, until you've seen him put the ball in the back of the net, and you'd be like, "Oh, this guy."
Right. Not toothless on the attack. Plenty of teeth.
Yeah.
But let me ask you, Forrest, do you think, I think we saw on Thursday, the Whitecaps, I think, wanted to have the ball and sort of play this style that they've espoused under Sorensen and clearly had success, because it should also be said that not only are they doing really well in CCC, but they've won 7 of 10 matches so far in MLS, which is also a record for them, you know, so they're just lights out everywhere they go. But they deployed Rios as a winger, and they wanted to maybe get into the box and like flood numbers and then get some crosses in there. Miami does lack that size back there, and especially Usteri as the goalkeeper isn't really a commanding presence aerially, I think, which is you see on the first goal with White's header. Do you see both of these teams going with similar 11s? And I think you saw Miami go with a little more robust midfield in front of Busquets to try to thwart them down the middle. So you think you see a similar approach in Miami?
I do. Yeah, I do. I don't see them changing much. I mean, they're a pretty well-oiled machine when they get going, and that would be obviously a concern. I mean, the Suarez and Messi, talk about comebacks. I mean, they've been involved with some pretty big comebacks at the time. If I remember right, Barcelona was a PSG. They're 4-0 down or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been in this. They're not too worried about it, but I think Minnesota game and then going from there over to Miami is what I expect they did, right? Asa, they went straight there.
Correct. Yeah.
That cut some of that time zone, stuff down, because at Miami showing up a night before in Vancouver, for me, that just spelled trouble. I mean, the second half, it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, and you got these old guys that I guarantee, we're talking about that this morning, Jimmy, that they're on the plane going, I can't even feel my legs. I was just dead out there, and I think we'll see a much different Miami, but they are certainly susceptible defensively. And the way the movement, the movement of Vancouver, we saw against Minnesota and at times against Miami all year long, I think that will cause enough trouble that I expect them to get a goal or two.
Before I ask you the same thing, Asa, Forrest or Jimmy or whoever wants to chime in on this, do you think that's Miami underestimating Vancouver in that they're thinking, okay, we won't have to dig ourselves out of a hole in this first leg. We'll come back home and we'll be able to take care of business. Like flying in the day before, that's a pretty big miss on their part, isn't it? Anybody?
Yeah. No, I think so. I think they probably thought they were going to go in there, get something out of the game, maybe 0-0, keep it close, and then get out. But I think they were a bit shocked just with the atmosphere, with the style of play from Vancouver, and obviously conceding 2 goals. It definitely didn't go the way that they wanted it to. That's for sure. And they know they've got an uphill battle now.
Yeah, they do for sure. So, Asa, going back to my previous question, do you think that Sorensen, at least on his part, will deploy a pretty similar 11 for the second leg?
I don't know. I think that defensively, how it's going to look. Actually, the one question I have as well on the defensive side of things is, this is a really fun conversation and talking point right now is that left back position where Sam Adekubi played on the weekend started. And I think
he started the first half, right?
Yeah, and I think that he's the number one coming into the season, has all the experience, all the quality. But gosh, how do you take Tate Johnson out of this lineup? Like one of my favorite players to watch right now on this team. He gets it. He knows exactly what he wants to do with it. So smooth, so calm on the ball. So I think that's a really interesting one. Do you go with the experience in Sam Adekubi, who's obviously fit enough to play now, and he got some minutes on the weekends. So that's an interesting one. The center backs, I think that picks itself. Those guys are playing every chance they get. So Tristan Blackman, obviously, and Ranko Veselinovic. Yohei Takaoka is an obvious one. The right side, Edir Ocampo has been the guy. Kubas always in the 11. Sebastian Berhalter. You talked about Brian White earlier. Jimmy Brennan deserved a nod for the American team. Sebastian Berhalter's got to get a nod as well.
Yeah,
the way that he's playing right now. Yeah. Pedro Vite in the 11. You go with that. Brian White, obviously, always starting. And then I think I go with Ali Ahmed. And then the Rios one against Miami, I guess, is the interesting one. And that's what you were talking about earlier. I think in that last game, that was a more defensive, I guess, experienced approach. The magnitude of the game, you go with the 30-year-old who's been there, done that, like kind of knows it, and that the moment wouldn't be too big for him. And you were able to bring in Jaden Nelson, potentially Emmanuel Sabi. You have these players off the bench. And I wonder if that might be something different. If he feels like, they'll get these opportunities on the counter, he goes with a little bit more speed and that wide area. So that's an interesting one for me to see how he approaches the game in that regard. I do think that Jesper Sorensen's really enjoying this, and why wouldn't he? Because the team's on absolute fire, but he likes to kind of have a game plan for each match. The last one did not go according to plan. I think they expected to have a little bit more of the ball. They want to have more of the ball, as you mentioned, Dubs. So I'm curious to see how he approaches this one. Would he maybe learn from that last match and said, okay, maybe we will understand that they might have the ball a little bit more and create a lineup or tactically set up to hit on the counter a little bit more. So that would be the thing to watch for me as far as the lineup goes, the starting 11 goes, and how I expect them to approach the game based off of that.
The only player that I think I would change or would start was Ngando. That's the only one that I would start him in the middle. Only because I know you're going to be under the cosh. You want that little bit of physicality in the middle.
Yeah.
Someone that can break play up, because as much as you want to have all the possession, you've got a Miami team that has to come at you. They need goals.
Who's the guy that comes off though, Jimmy?
That's it.
Well, you could play with maybe VT and Berhalter, and I would have Ngando in there as well.
Sorry, you pull Kubas off? Who comes off? Like Kubas can't come off, obviously.
No, but it depends. You got to think. I mean, you're not gonna control this game.
Yeah.
Right. But at least if you've had Ngando in there, who's physical, can break plays up, can sit in front of the back, I think I would have him in there. And then as the game goes on, when it starts to die down a little bit, then eventually maybe bring in a Kubas or VT, whoever you want to start with. But I would have that presence in the middle, knowing that we're going to be under the cosh for quite a bit. And Miami's coming at you from minute one. And you can't be open. You can't be a team that wants to play beautiful football during this match. You've got a 2-0 lead. It's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah. Oh, really interesting. I think that Kubas is the guy you have to have in the middle. Yeah. I think he's the best at what he does as far as like defensive midfielders go. Number 6s, I think he's one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. JC, gives you so much in the middle of the park. You're right. He's extremely like strong, physical, great on the ball, really calm.
And he can go box to box.
He's more box to box for me. Exactly. Yeah. So I think that he gets into that like Berhalter, Vite mold potentially, but I don't know if I pull either of those guys off. Like it's really interesting. Like maybe Vite, I guess if you wanted to add size in the middle, you'd have Berhalter, Kubas, JC as like your ball winners, box to box engines. Vite gives you a little bit more in the attacking third. Obviously, like he sets up Brian White on that goal. He's so good at like just spraying these passes all over the place. So I think that would maybe be the move if you wanted to get a little stronger through the middle. But right now, I think it's one of the best. It's the best midfields in the league. I think when you get the Berhalter,
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
of course. Players that can come on.
It's good for us as well, eh? Great to talk about.
That's right. You were talking about a JC. That's Ngando's first name.
Yes. And
what he does for that team, what JC for our team here at Footy Prime also does so much for the pod, usually unsung. Yes, he keeps things creative. Ticking along. Yeah, but they beefed up. Miami did. They deployed Redondo and Segovia in front of Busquets. So, I mean, maybe it's a closing the game down. If the beginning goes according to plan for the Whitecaps, maybe that's a let's lock things down move for Sorensen as a late game sub. And Jimmy, I wanted to put this to you as another potential option that maybe is giving Sorensen a bit of a headache. Asa mentioned Atakubi, and then also against Johnson, who's done so well. Yeah. Maybe it's a late game decision, not in terms of a late one, but you throw Atakubi in at the end, you get that experience, you get a little bit of a more defensive look versus Johnson to see things out.
I would start with Tate Johnson. I like him. I think he's steady. He doesn't play like he's 19.
No.
He plays like he's 27 years old, this kid. And I love his energy, his work ethic, how aggressive he is. Do you start Atakubi? Can he give you 90? You don't know if he can give you 90. So I think you start Johnson, ride him as long as you can, which you're going to get 90 minutes. And if you want to change it up, then bring Atakubi on. But I don't think this is a match that you start Atakubi. I'd start with Johnson. Mm-hmm. And I love Atakubi.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, who's fit, who's in form. And I think Johnson, for me, would be the left back.
Yeah. I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to Colin Miller kind of off air, having a chat about that position. Is that, the second Sam's ready, as great as Tate's been and the greatest story as this is, you want Sam and the experience and the ability, obviously. He comes back in. And then 2 games later, I'm like, I don't know. Like every time he gets out there, and I think the Thursday was a big one. Like that's Messi in Miami under the lights at BC Place, and the kid was unfazed. Like looked like one of the best players on the pitch. 19 years old. Gosh, if he's doing that in that on that stage, then why not? Like it's hard to pull him out of the lineup.
Yeah.
Forrest, go ahead, Wonger.
Sorry, Dubs. It's just as we're talking about players right now. Inter Miami has David Ruiz, who has a hamstring, and Baltasar Rodriguez, who has a hamstring also, who may not play. I'm wondering if there's any updates on Ryan Gauld and any of the, and I know Jaden Nelson's back. He started the last game against Miami, but is there any other players updates that we know are available for Wednesday's game?
There was Laborda, wasn't it?
Yes, Laborda also. That's right.
You're right. So those are the two we're kind of waiting on right now. And looks like Laborda's close. Saw Ryan Gauld running last week away from the team, and you can see he's getting closer, but still no date in sight. I think, and again, this is something I was chatting with Colin about. I think if they reach the final, don't want to get ahead of things, but that would be the next kind of target date, right? Like that's the next big one. Not available.
June 1st, just so everyone knows. June 1st is the.
Yeah, I think Laborda and Gauld are supposed to be back early May. They should be back in.
And hoping. And Laborda's further along. Like he's closer. You can see on the pitch, like doing a little bit more. When I saw Gauld last week, wasn't touching the ball, literally doing laps, and I felt guilty. I felt like I should probably be doing it with him. So I was like,
you feel so far away from being like watching all your teammates just play with the ball casually. You're like, why can't I be there yet?
It's like my PTSD from youth soccer days when I was acting up or doing something I shouldn't, and you just started doing laps.
Yeah,
like Asa, go run.
That's right. But that's what I was going to ask you, Forrest, not specifically about laps, but just this Whitecaps team. Like, I guess a couple of things that, like, what are your expectations for this side that just keeps making history? Like, they're just ticking boxes as they're playing in league play, but also in Concacaf Champions Cup. It's no longer a surprise, is it?
No, it's not. Everybody's quite aware of it, and the amount of attention they're getting from the league, Major League Soccer, social media giving them a lot of love, Apple TV giving them a lot of love. So, yeah, there's no surprises anymore.
Footy Prime giving them a lot of love.
Yeah, we're giving them like so much love.
Yeah. Well, we're still love, and at the beginning of the season, they had no love. Everybody was like, "Oh, they're going to be rock bottom." Now it's, "Oh, these guys are great."
Oh yeah.
Not our team. Our team was pretty hopeful.
No, we said they were going to be all right.
Yep.
They just got to make sure that they don't let this slide, because this is a great opportunity for them, but by no stretch that this is over, this match, and anybody can come back. It's the talent on in Miami. So have to sort of curb your enthusiasm a little bit until maybe after the game tomorrow night.
Yeah, you can play your best Larry David, Craig Forrest.
Yeah,
there you go.
But you're right.
Song come in my head there.
Yeah, I know. Me too. It's that theme going. But they're 90 minutes away from history. So their first ever continental final. And going back to what we're talking about, like the updates on Ryan Gauld, like that could have been a turning point in this season. Like seeing him go down, limping off the pitch, but instead it seemed to galvanize this team further. So, like, what do you think that means? That is, they've done all of this despite what the pundits said. You know, that they've exceeded expectations, but that internally they've done it without their star.
Yeah, they have. I'll let Asa talk about this a little bit, but at the same time, you know, they've done it without their star, but they've done a really good job with it and been able to cope with that as well, and dealing with some tough moments, especially against the Mexican sides. But they, you know, even last year, they were probably arguably better away from home than they were at home.
Right.
You know, that match against Miami, and certainly we've seen some glimpses of it at home. But that was, like Asa said, one of the best performances I've seen them play at home. And they need to match that away.
Yeah. I think, like, Vanny deserves a nod once again here. When you talk about a team that's kind of playing for each other, I think that's something that Vanny Sartini instilled with this group. And Ryan Gauld has been the captain of this team, the best player for this group. And it's something that Vanny Sartini preached about for years when he was a coach here, that the team is the leader. He'd always tell me, because as a reporter, when I go there and ask some questions, you know, how they deal with this player being out, or, you know, praising Ryan Gauld for his effort and all these goals in these games. He's like, Asa, the team is the leader. It's always the team is the leader. So he's preaching that for years. You have the same group that's stayed together now. And I really think that they believe that. They all play for each other. That's one thing to kind of believe it. Then they have to actually execute and perform on the pitch. And that's what we're seeing right now with Jesper Sorensen is that everyone's bought in, but they're all contributing, understanding. And then there's this sense of belief as well with this group that they can always get the result. They can always get the goal when they need it. They were so close to being knocked out of this competition as well, so they had some late heroics to kind of keep this thing going. And I think that, that's been the thing that stood out to me, is that even without Ryan Gauld, they understand that they're all going to bat for each other, and they will just keep pushing. And it's great to see, because when he does come back, I think you were kind of alluding to this. That was like, what's the ceiling for this team? The potential, like, massive, right? Like, and I think it's okay to get excited about that because of what we've seen on the field, because of these games against Miami, Concacaf Champions Cup run, and then in league play as well. I thought that this weekend was the match to kind of stumble again. They have the loss in the season so far against Chicago, where they were missing players because of international duty. This match against Minnesota, away from home, you have the distraction of the Miami series as well. You rotate 8 players. Okay, maybe you drop this one on the road 2-1, but they didn't. Like, it's so incredible. So I think it's okay to get excited about the potential of this team. And you can look at this team. I think the expectation has to be to win MLS Cup now with what we've seen. And it's okay to say that. I think the expectation can be to reach the final of the Concacaf Champions Cup. And I think it's okay to say that. And the same goes for the Canadian Championship. I think it's okay to have the expectations that you're going to win all 3 of these competitions.
Wow.
Oh, the treble. For the
I didn't say it, you did, Tubbs. I didn't say it, you did.
I mean, semantics, Asa Rehman.
And Asa, you'll be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but the winner of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, are they not then invited to the FIFA Club World Cup?
Correct. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So Vancouver could be by June 1st in the Club World Cup.
Yes.
If all goes well. Yeah.
That's impressive.
With Miami.
With Miami.
That's right.
Yeah, that rivalry now. It's good.
They just had to answer the skill testing question on the bottom of the cereal box. That's how they got in.
To show they bought it.
Yeah.
They got to send in the UPC code.
Yeah. So Sorensen felt that they were far from their best in that first leg. And that's the scary thing. And they still managed this incredible win. They still managed to beat Miami 2-0 in a full BC play. So I'm going to do it. And we're going to go around the table here. And I want your predictions for Wednesday night, because we have to say it'll be the headline of Canadian Championships preliminary round that's happening today. And then also Wednesday, we'll see Toronto FC versus CF Montreal. So one of those 2 lowly, bleak, lackluster teams so far through MLS is going to get knocked out immediately from the Canadian Championships. And then we have the headline, which is the second leg of this matchup between Miami and Vancouver. So Asa Rehman, we're going to start with you. What is your prediction for leg 2 of that match?
I think it'll be a 2-2 draw.
For who?
Yeah, I think 2-2. I don't know who kind of takes the lead, but I think the game's going to open up, or the Caps will get some chances on the counter, and whenever that second goal goes in, I think that kind of does the game in, and 2-2 is the score I'm going with.
I like that. Craig Forrest?
I think Miami might win this 3-1.
Okay.
But it's still not enough.
Right. I think that really drives home the advantage that they have going into Miami, that they can still lose 3-1.
Thank goodness we got away goals in this competition, because everywhere else in the world, they've got rid of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it actually plays in their hands. I would say, if I was going to criticize Vancouver, I think they gave Messi a lot of space, a lot, too much space. And secondly, set pieces from central positions, they sit really deep. Their starting position is on the penalty spot. And we talked about this, Asa, during the game. When those balls are put in, when the ball gets knocked down, they're taking shots and scrambling from 6-7 yards out, as opposed to the edge of the box. And there's no space for the goalkeeper to come and get the ball into the box as well. Never liked the defense that sat back that deeply, asking for trouble, but they've got away with it and they haven't conceded from it yet.
It's a really good point for us because the one that comes to mind, there were a number of them from about 30, 35 yards, but was one where Berhalter got his yellow card late in the game. He tugged Messi down, and it was from the right-hand side of the net if you're looking at Takaoka. And you're right, they do have a really deep line there.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, that would concern me. I wouldn't like that. I'd be telling Jimmy to squeeze up to the edge of the box, but there you go.
Squeeze!
Squeeze, get out!
Not your ass cheeks, Brennan. Just get out.
Yeah, squeeze my ass. Yelling at me.
Wonger, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna go with a Miami win, but it'll be 1-1 most of the game, and they'll pop one in at the end, like one of those late to make it look like it's closer than it was to actually have them victory. But I also was thinking that the weather's going to follow Vancouver down. They're going to have beautiful rainy weather in Miami.
Doubling down on this, Wonger.
And that will make them feel at ease, and hence they'll come out being victorious. Yeah.
Interesting. You,
Yes.
Jimmy?
I think it'll be 2-1 Miami. I think the Caps will score, but I think Miami will end up getting a couple of goals in this match.
Miami don't go too many games without scoring.
I think it'll be 2-1 at some stage of the game. That's why I was actually thinking Forrest scoreline as well, the 3-1, and the Caps will get through. But I'm the optimist and figuring that'll be 2-1, and then the Caps will get one against a run of play or catch them on the counter, and then that just kills the game.
You have to be the optimist. You see these people face to face, and they can call you out.
That's right.
We're just virtual heads, talking heads.
It doesn't
They
stop
didn't
a lot
Nestle
of
and call
people
me out
longer.
if I see him again.
I will flip Jimmy's scoreline, and I'll say it'll be 2-1 for the Whitecaps. So I'll go extremely glass half full on this one.
Love it.
Yeah, and I'll back the Whitecaps. I think that they'll go in there, and given what Sorensen said, they didn't have the ball. They didn't play protagonist, and then they'll go back to kind of their style of play, their philosophy, and get an early one. And then it'll send Miami. They'll kind of reel a little bit and try to get into it, and then they'll get another one on the counter, and then Miami will get kind of one to salvage the scoreline.
I like that too.
I also have to make a note of it is as Ryan Gauld went down, it seemed to steal the Vancouver Whitecaps and make them a better team. In our Footy Prime world, our James Sharman is down, and I've now seen us elevate into a better place with Asa and Dubs. Yes, we've galvanized without Sharms. So Sharms, we'll see you when we see you.
That's right. We're doing okay without you, Pie Man. No, we hope we get better soon. We are always better with James Sharman. But I think that's it from us, because inconceivably we're already at almost 48 minutes, which is crazy.
Incredible.
But
Amazing.
Asa, it's always a treat to have you on, especially talking Whitecaps.
Love it. Thanks
back.
so much.
Yeah, hopefully we can preview the final next time you're on. Yeah, sounds great. Anything else that you need to add, Wonger?
No, what are you promoting? Do you need to promo anything, Asa?
Listen to Broadcast Next, the home game on cknw.com. Also, if you're watching the games on Apple TV, when it's a home game at BC Place, you can toggle to our radio call on the broadcast. So give that a try as well.
And
old school.
Even us, like outside the Vancouver area, will also have that option.
Sure.
Great.
Internet.
I like that.
Internet.
Well, I know, but sometimes it's like regional bullshit, right?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay,
let me know.
Subscribe, check us out on YouTube's, on socials, and because every little bit helps, and comment, because we love to hear from you.
We do. And one more thing, Dubs, we're at 2,958 subscribers, so we almost have 3,000 subscribers. Please subscribe on YouTube to get us over the 3,000 level, because we hear big money after 3,000. That's what we heard. Allegedly. Right. Tiny feet, but big money.
New indoor women's slippers for Wonger.
That's right.
Jimmy, what the hell is that? Looks
like a crystal ball.
Yes.
Jimmy showed us his glowing ball. Okay, on that, enjoy your day. Good luck, Whitecaps. And cheers for listening and watching.